It was International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and while I was celebrating, of course, all of the real women in my life who are incredible and strong and intelligent, it got me thinking about the fictional women who have shaped and changed me as I've grown up, and even now as I consume more books and television and film. So these are just a few that I've thought of in the past kind of day or so, so I know I'm going to look back on this video and think, why didn't I include XYZ, but I guess these are the women that came to mind when I thought of it initially, so here they are. They're not in any kind of order, so without further ado, here are some incredible fictional women from books and television and films that have had some sort of impact on my life. So the first character is somebody who I remember first ever having some sort of relation to when I was reading the books, and it is Wren from the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. These books I remember reading and absolutely adoring. We read the first one at primary school. I think our teacher read it to us, and the main books are about a boy called Torak, and he's part of these clans and it's all about mages and wolves. But I remember there was a female character called Wren in it, and I've looked it up since because I couldn't exactly remember kind of what the storyline was because it was however many years ago. She had a really natural skill with magic, I believe it was, so her clan wanted her to be a mage, but she actually just wanted to be a hunter, and she had really good hunting skills, and she was a really good archer, and she knew how to catch fish with just a line and some hooks. And I just remember when I was younger reading her character and really absorbing the idea of her defying what her clan wanted her to do because she wanted to do something else. There's kind of a theme with all of these characters. They're all just kind of badass, and I guess what I would want to be if I was ever in those situations. But just remember, younger Angela absolutely adored this idea of a defiant person my age doing what she wanted, being really cool and doing archery. So if you didn't know, I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. I don't really talk about it as much as I used to, but you know, Jodie Whittaker, I might watch it and talk about it a bit more. I first watched Doctor Who when it was David Tennant, so I grew up with some really awesome female companions. Watching Doctor Who and watching those women on screen was such a massive deal for me. So obviously Martha, despite being in love with the Doctor, she was in the middle of learning how to become a doctor herself, and then she ran off with the Doctor, and she was curious and she was so willing to learn all of these new things about the universe and time travel, but she was still very sure of herself. I just remember really vividly the situation, I think is in Family of Blood, where she's looking after the Doctor even though he doesn't know he's the Doctor, and the woman who's falling in love with, who the Doctor's falling in love with, turns around and is I think says something racist and is how can you be learning to be a doctor? And she lists all of the bones in her hand. She took no crap from anybody. A lot of these are kind of BBC TV programmes because that's what I grew up on. So another one very related to Doctor Who was Sarah Jane Adventures. Wasn't Sarah Jane Adventures so good? I can't get over how good it was. I think it was the first few series of Sarah Jane Adventures with Maria, and I just remember watching her character with Luke and Sarah Jane, and I think I tried to think about it before I started filming, but what I think stood out to me about her character was that she was always curious about things, but she was never worried about being scared at the same time, which is kind of how I think anybody would be if you were dealing with aliens. So there was Doctor Who, and there was also Merlin. I love Merlin. Me and Will watched it again recently before they took it off Netflix, and it reminded me just quite how much I love it. But Gwen, or Guinevere from Merlin, made this list because she's so compassionate and kind and loving, and she cares about Merlin, she cares about Arthur, and she cares about her brother and all of these characters, and yet she still doesn't forget about herself. There's just the odd episode where she rocks up and she's in her fur shawl with I think it's a corset on, and she just gets out this sword and annihilates everyone just as well as Merlin and Arthur do. And she's so determined and helpful, and she helps everyone. Oh, what an angel. I love Gwen. Not only that, she goes from being the blacksmith's daughter and maid to freaking Queen of Camelot, like, that's impressive. So of course we couldn't talk about fictional characters without talking about Harry Potter. Hermione is like a very obvious choice for it. She's smart and she's determined and she's always got an answer for everything. And the other two characters I wanted to talk about were Angelina Johnson and Nymphadora. Don't call me Nymphadora. And Tonks. So when I was younger, I had the audiobooks of Harry Potter and I would listen to them every night before I went to bed, and I listened to them before I read them and before I watched them. I always remember hearing about Angelina and how she was on the Quidditch team and how she was determined and she became Quidditch captain. And as somebody who was very sporty when I was younger, I really, really liked her character for the fact that she was unapologetically sporty and she was on the team and she became captain and she didn't care that she was surrounded by boys in this mixed sport. And although she's not like a big character, I just really liked having somebody who was a woman within these sports, even if they are fictional, who was determined and just all round great. And I wanted to talk about Tonks as well because she's another character similar to Gwen who's really caring and compassionate, but she is also this really incredible part of the Order and she protects everyone and she's absolutely hilarious and she doesn't care what other people think. She's really clumsy, which they don't kind of put across in the films. I am incredibly clumsy sometimes, and I really liked seeing this female character who's really badass and cool and like doesn't care, but then like she'll just trip over her own feet every now and again because you don't really see that. So all of those characters are kind of ones that were with me within my childhood and kind of shaped me as I was younger. But of course there are characters that I see now and like a couple of years ago that still have the same impact on me. I always wanted to be a forensic pathologist when I was younger. You have to be a doctor to be a forensic pathologist and I'm not quite clever enough for that. So I remember seeing Molly Hooper in Sherlock and absolutely loving her character. Somebody who's a forensic pathologist is so incredibly clever. You have to be a doctor and then you have to specialise and it takes a long time and you have to know your stuff. But I do really like her character because she isn't purely used by Sherlock as somebody to like get bodies. She has her own personality and she's really cute and funny and oh, I just love Molly so much. Series 4 screwed Molly over so much. She deserved so much better than what she got in series 4. Another character from kind of recent years is Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder, who is played by Viola Davis. Not only is Viola Davis absolutely incredible and she plays Annalise so well, Annalise is like an incredibly flawed character. She's really raw and honest, but so incredibly good at her job and determined. And she's just a very real woman to look up to. She has an incredibly realistic outlook on the world, but she doesn't let it get in her way. All of the problems that she faces within the television programme and the storylines, Annalise is completely real, and she just gets on with it and 9 times out of 10 comes out on top. So yeah, that is just some of the fictional women that have shaped me as a person and had an impact on my life. I would love to hear some of your favourite fictional women, whether or not that's in a comment or in another video. I hope you had a wonderful International Women's Day. Thank you for watching and I will see you in my next video.